Mr. Vutlhari.
Hey, how are you, sir?
I'm
Are you
good,
well?
man. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm awesome, man.
I'm sitting in the dark here, so
I can see there's something wrong.
no, it's not to create an ambience. It's just ESCOM. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how are you, bro?
No, I'm well, man, and thank you so much
Yeah,
for making this reality. So yeah, I'm very
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, thank you for accepting the invitation. Not that the last time I saw you, your beard was not this big, ne?
I
What
think so.
and that was like
It's
2 weeks, maybe, or a week and a half.
probably actually 3 weeks. Actually, isn't it 3 weeks or 2 weeks?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I that long
it's been
ago.
it's been a while. It's been a while, but it grows very fast.
Maybe let's start with you telling those who may want to know, is it jeans or there's a secret, trick or something that you use?
No, for me, it's just gins actually. Like yeah, there isn't much that I use.
Yeah, yeah,
Until recently, there's a lot of product
yeah,
that I've been using. Uh,
yeah,
but other than that, like I've just gins,
yeah, man. Yeah. But anyway,
Mm.
thanks again for accepting my invitation. Feel free. I know it's family time, so I really appreciate you taking out the time. You might
Yeah.
hear a dog or a child in the background on my side, no?
I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
thanks to everyone that has joined us tonight. This is something I say. I think I've been saying it for a while now. Uti, you took the time out to come and listen to these two guys, Omunyun and Chebe. Omunye is sitting in the dark almost, but this is going to be worthwhile.
Yes.
I'm joined by, Vutlhari Valoyi. He also calls himself Donald, but I think I prefer the. I don't want the slave name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but how are you,
Yeah.
Vutlhari?
No, I'm well, man. And how are you?
Hey, fighting on, daughter, but I'm good otherwise. No complaints. No
No, that's not.
complaints. Yeah. So by way of introduction, Vutlhari is the founder, co-founder,
Mm.
and CEO of Zulzi.
Yeah.
Zulzi. The L is not silent, and it's
Yeah.
Zulzi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
This was.
and those of you who might know or not know, Zulzi is an on-demand grocery platform. So basically, you can download the app on your
Yeah.
phone, Android, I think Apple. I saw you also have something called Huawei App Gallery. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. It's
Um,
on the Huawei
and then,
store. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and then do your shopping and that. So without further ado, and before maybe we get into the business side of things,
Mm.
can you tell us who Vutlhari is? And for me, there's a reason why today's topic is also themed the unstoppable dream. So can you tell us who Vutlhari is, where you come from, and how you ended up doing what you're doing, not necessarily around Zulzi, but in terms of your academic background?
Yeah. No, thank you so much once again, my brother. Yeah, I think me and you have shared so many like special moments in terms
Yeah,
of like meeting earlier on, and I really commend what you do and what
thank
you
you.
stand for. And I just want to say well done to what you've achieved up until this point. And then also like just to say good night to everyone who's here joining us. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. About my background, guys, like I grew up in a village, just like everybody else. Everybody was black. Like I grew up in a place where I come from a place where there was a lot of like, I didn't come from a place where there was everything was just provided on a silver platter. I went to a high school. I mean, my primary school was in a primary school called Sushi Village, or in my village in Limpopo. And then I went to a high school called Msinga High School in just the village next door. The only difference is we had to cross the river to get to the school. We didn't have like a high school and so we had to walk actually to school.
Sure.
In winter, we'll take off our shoes, go
Sure.
through like very cold water.
Mm.
Those things that we used to go through.
Yeah.
Of course, we'll go there barefoot. If you're lucky, you'll have some shoes that's got a hole underneath. Uh,
Sure.
I think the point here is actually not for people to feel sorry for us. It's just to actually elaborate where we came from.
Yeah.
So so yeah. But one thing that we had at the time, or what I had at the time, was a dream. You know, Poverty should not stop you from dreaming. So we had a
Mm. Mm.
dream. Even then, I had a big dream of owning pirates one day. So I used to
Wow. Wow.
spend a lot of time, like thinking about which players I'll buy, how much they
Mm.
will cost
Mm.
me,
Mm.
even when I was hungry. So because most of the time we actually make a mistake of actually stopping to dream just because of hunger.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just never stopped dreaming. Yeah. So and then school wise, I went to West University, studied applied maths. That was in
Nightmare.
2003. Yeah, applied maths.
Okay.
And then after that, and then I actually went to my first job was in Cape Town for a company called Magma Tech. It was a technology company where we're developing software for all mutual insurance companies, actually mostly. So I worked there as a
Mm.
consultant for 2 years. Maybe before I even get to that, I think let me just also highlight that in high school, for instance, where I went to, in Singa High School, I think it was a well-known thing that you can't do medicine higher grade. So those are some of the challenges we faced there.
Sure.
So the reason we couldn't do medicine higher grade was because there was no teacher who could teach you medicine higher grade. So it
Wow.
was a tradition of the school actually. So it was a well-known thing that when you go here, you must actually never attempt to do medicine higher grade.
Sure.
Uh, and when I went there, one of the things that I looked at was to sort of like do some little bit of research to try and understand what's the problem, because I could see that,
Mm.
for me, like, things that I don't accept is to think that there are no people who are capable, right? I
Mm.
always think
Mm.
they're capable, but there's something that is stopping them from reaching their true potential. And
Mm.
when I trick, I was like, it doesn't make sense. There's no way, there's just no way. And
Mm.
if you think about it, there's just no way. There's
Sure.
no way that you can have a school that has been, operational for over 30 years, but you can't do medicine higher grade.
Sure.
There
Sure.
had to be something. And lucky enough, I think grade 11, we had to
Mm.
write a test that was not coming from our school. And I used to
Sure.
get 100% everything that was coming from our school. But when it came from outside, I got 40%. I got
Yeah.
40%, and I realized, okay, this is the reason why this is tough. And I remember that December, I spent a lot of time trying to
Yeah.
look at, like, past papers, higher grade past papers. And I had to
Yeah.
start practicing in December. I had to start teaching myself how to do those things.
Wow.
Uh, and come Jan, I could literally, I was way too ahead. I could do almost everything.
Wow.
I was when I couldn't get an A, but I was very close. Like I got like a B in maths, and a maths higher
Mm.
grade. And all the things I had to do it by myself. I had to teach myself almost everything. So
Mm.
all in all, is like that's when I realized that actually, first of all, there's nothing that's impossible. You can
Mm.
teach yourself anything that you want, and you can be anything that you want to.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
you see out there, someone decided that it's going to look like that. And for me
Yeah.
as well, that you need to have that courage and that dream. So from
Yeah.
that there, that's the principle that I have.
Yeah.
I still continue to dream and act like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's very powerful because you remain true to yourself. Once you understand that there's nothing that's impossible, you remain true to yourself. So yeah, so like fast forward, then I worked for a company called Magma Tech, a software developer for like almost a year and a half. And then I moved to another company called ICG, spent a year, and then I moved back to Joburg, right? Worked for companies such as like MTN, Consology, EOH, and then later on, I joined FNB as a software developer. Yeah, so that's I think that's my history,
Yeah.
But throughout, definitely the biggest thing was always believing in yourself and really like not allowing anyone to come and tell you who you are, right? Like staying true. Sometimes it's very difficult, like it's sometimes you doubt it that you do it. It's never easy throughout even my career. I look back, I'm like, oh damn, like I can't believe I used to be like someone who used to report to someone. You
Wow.
look back, like we used to have a boss that would tell me this is how we do things.
Computer modeling forms and stuff. Yeah.
Most especially in tech,
Yeah.
yeah.
So.
So so I mean, it also like like I mean, I'm sure we'll get to that in terms of how we started Zulzi. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I think I've learned throughout this journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just take a few steps back. At which stage did you realize that maths was your thing? Can you recall whether it was like what led to you seeing Diamond? This thing, this is not load shedding. I get this subject, or maybe I like it. I want to get much more closer and deeper into it.
I think from the beginning, I think for me it was like it was something that was very simple. But obviously, like also the tests that we used to give us back in high school, they were so easy. Like I mean, most of the teachers there were we just give you an example, and set an exam based on an example. So I fell
Mm.
in love with that. But the truth
Oh,
is, it was a lot more. It needed one to be more involved than that what it was then. And
mm,
only later you realize that when you start to take some exams that extend out that you need to apply yourself.
yeah,
So
sure.
I fell in love because I was actually doing well. You get
Yeah.
100% from an example. so
Yeah.
so so yeah, so like yeah, I think, but all in all is like I think the external exams also helped me to understand how to like uh not to take things for granted, to understand
Sure.
that yeah, this can be really tough. uh
Mm,
like, just imagine someone who used to get 100%, you get 40%. Now you all of a sudden you have to wake up and say, oh, what the hell, what's going on? So
yeah, sure.
so for me, I got to learn all of those things there.
Yeah.
And also, I think maybe I develop a skill of not being, like today when I look at myself, I'm not afraid of failing, which is very important when you're
Mm,
in business, to
sure.
understand that you can fail as long as you go back and understand exactly what caused you to fail and fix that. So
Oh,
today, I
sure.
think because of all those learnings that I've gone through ever since I
Yeah.
started. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And then in terms of your entrepreneurship journey, did you always kind of know or have a leaning or interest towards one day I will start my own business,
Mm-mm.
or sort of like incidental? You just found yourself maybe take us through that process leading to the point that you started Zulzi.
Yeah, I think for me, what helped me a lot as well is my brother was at UCT, right? So he was in IT, so he played a big role as well, right? So some of the things that he used to do back then, and this I was still probably in high school, right? Would come
Yeah.
back, would show me how much he was earning. You know, this is so important, just to show the young kids the reality, in terms of like this is what happens. This is how much money you get here. This is what's possible. So
Mm.
sorry guys, I think there's a little bit of background, little bit of noise in the background. Can you
No,
guys?
I can
Is
hear
it?
you. So yeah,
Yeah. So let me just tell them quickly.
yeah.
I think. Sorry.
Sorry for that, guys.
Making noise. Sorry about it, guys.
No worries.
Um, yeah. So my brother played a big part in terms of showing me what's possible. So so I mean, things like sharing his payslip, showing me when he gets an offer, all of those things encouraged me to see, oh, this is what I want to become.
Yeah.
So that actually sort of like fast track a lot of things in my life, and
Mm.
I encourage people to do that. Like there's nothing wrong with showing a young man, and you don't have to hide anything. A lot of
Mm.
people, as much as they sign
Yeah.
NDA and stuff, I mean,
Yeah.
tell the
So,
kids, like, and not in a breaking way, it's just to show them what's possible. So there's a
so,
there's there's a part that you can play. They don't have to play in the dark. So for me, that helped me to fast track a lot of things. My
yeah.
brother was also always attempting a lot of things, attempting a lot of business ideas that some of them worked, some of them never worked.
Sure.
And I must say also my parents, my mother used to sell like chickens. She was a farmer, like at home, like she grew like meal, all of those things. So for me, I think I knew from that time that what, I want to do something.
Yeah.
I see the career stuff. I had seen everything. I see how much people earn. So at that time, I
Mm.
really, I don't think I want to do this. I want to do a lot more than that. So
Mm.
that call was made earlier on in my life that I want to be something else. I just didn't know exactly what I'm going to be
Right.
doing. But I
Sure.
knew that I could do a lot more than what I was doing then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then knowing that also influence the types of jobs or maybe companies you went for, or was that kind of like you get an interview, the first one to come across in terms of a job offer. That's sort of where you find yourself.
No, I don't think it did at the time, right? I think
Yeah.
for me, to be honest, for me, I was just going after the money. Where there
Oh,
was money, I would just go there,
yeah.
knowing that this is not the end of it. So it's just about like who pays me more.
Mm.
After that, look for something better. So I don't think I was actually ever influenced by the other things like how is this thing going to help me in my career journey. Even though when I
Yeah.
look back, I think it's so critical that you get to work in an environment where you can learn a lot more. That's why
Mm.
for me, where I'm at, I prefer startup environment to get to learn a lot more.
Mm.
It's not the
Yeah.
same where things are just given in a silver platter,
Yeah.
salary counts, all of those things. You need to get to an environment where things are not always given. You have to work
Mm.
out so you understand the impact. There's some company.
Mm.
I mean, I always tell myself like, if I was working in this company and even if I'm not there, I'm sick for the whole month, things still happen. You don't want to
Mm.
be like that where things just happen even if you are sick or you're not there. No one
Yeah.
notices if you're there or not. So you want to be in an
Sure.
environment where your impact can be felt. So
Yeah.
so I think I was able to get that later on in the stages of my career, but I think that's one thing that I think one has to go for.
Sure. Sure. That's
Yeah.
that's really powerful. Okay. So FNB, tell us, maybe was FNB right before Zulzi?
Yeah, it was just right before Zulzi.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think FNB was quite interesting. I think it was at the time where FNB was at the peak, where Michael Jordan was the CEO
Oh
of the
yeah.
formula company,
Yeah. I
and
remember that. Yeah.
and they were really encouraging entrepreneurship as well. So for me, I
Mm.
think I was happy because we got to be selected for. There was a team called, I think it was called, that team was called Global Transaction Services, right? GTS. So at the time, I think they told us that yeah, anyone who was joining the team was like the top developer in the country, and about
Yeah.
100 people in that team,
So
and we were convinced that yeah, like that's like the top of the cream.
yeah.
But what came out of that was that the stuff that we had to do was it's not what we imagined.
Sure.
So from then we realized that yeah, I think for one to really like to fulfill your dream, to do something better, I think the only
Yeah.
way is to do it for yourself. So it helped us to fast track a lot of things. In fact, a lot of guys at that team, I think They after leaving that team, they had to start their own things. Others started the church, different things. Others became sangomas because they realized, yeah, that was not the dream that they were sold. So it was quite interesting. And then for me, that's when I realized, okay, I need to do something. And for me, it was Zulzi. That's when I started Zulzi after I left the what do you call it? After I left the F&B.
Wow.
Yeah.
The idea for is Zulzi, how did that come about? And then, and it's good that you've laid the framework in terms of the environment that you worked in. Excuse me, because it was creating layer environment layer, where already it sounds like all the background and experiences from your brother, your mother, and so forth, adding to the FNP experience.
Yeah.
It sort of became unavoidable, inevitable. This is the path that you're taking. Um, what was the thing that led to you saying this is where I'm going, or this is what I'm starting? Did you have a name for it? Name not necessarily as in Zulzi, but name as in it's
Mhm.
a what platform, at that moment, or you sort of had a high level concept about it.
Yeah, look, what's funny is like when I look back in terms of like the things we tried, right? We tried so many things, right?
Yeah.
So then at that time, I think what we did was to okay. So one of the things that I did actually was to I remember I gave some funds to some students, right? They were running like a business called Eurobooks in Cape Town, ECT, right? So they're just selling secondhand books, right? So I looked at the model and I was realized, oh, there could be money here to be made, right? So I was still working at the time, so I could raise a little bit of cash, maybe about 30K or so. I put it in that business. Um, like I didn't get a return on it. Must be honest, I didn't get a return on it, even though like there was some money there, right? Like I think for me it was just more like learning and understanding that space. And then I realized, oh, secondhand books, there's quite some money here to be made. And then I decided, oh, what if we do everything instead of secondhands? We go and do new books, everything, all of the
Sure.
stuff online, right? So that's when the idea of starting Zulzi as a bookshop started. Started Zulzi as a bookshop, focusing a lot more on university students, right?
Sure.
And we then went out to sign partnerships with all the major publishers, your Juta, Fanscape, all of those guys, right? So
Mm,
to get them to be on our side. So what was interesting then was that like online, I mean, we assume that, like students would just go online, what are the books, everything is all good. So I left my job, right? I left my job at F&B. It was a high paying job.
sure.
Um, uh, Left it, there were no savings, like what people always say that, when you leave your job, make sure you've got enough savings to last you for 6 months. Never
Wow.
left that. Never had that. I just left. I
Yeah.
was convinced about this plan that I had, that was
Sure.
going to work. Um, if I remember well, I think my projections were that, like, within the first month, turnover was going to be 1 million rand, somewhere around
Mm,
there, with a profit of, almost 700,000 rand. That was the plan, right? And then you get into the ground, people are not buying stuff online. You're advertising on Facebook, all of these things, no one is buying, right?
mm, mm,
Uh, And then if I remember well, one of the things that we had to do, because at that time we had bought a lot of books, right? We've got a lot of stock, it's there. No one is ordering. So I then decided, you know what, like maybe for us to stand a better chance, we have to find a way to get into campus, right?
sure.
Uh, so we then started going to VETS campus, East campus. A lot of students actually, like, I've met a lot of students now work at like Deloitte. They recognize me as that guy who used to sell books under the tree. The online thing
Yeah.
was just not working. Like, what, like now that this online is not working, what do we do, right? So we had to
Sure.
go on campus, put a table under the tree.
Sure.
Students will come there. Some of them, they used to think, these books must be stolen. How can this guy selling new books? Because they've never heard of anything like that. They didn't understand how
Sure.
come you're selling books. And most of
Yeah.
those books are selling them at cost price. We're not making any money, right? We're just
Wow.
was just selling them so that we can at least have some cash, so I can
Yeah.
think about what to do, right? So I think we sold about 250,000 rand worth of books at,
Wow.
like you can just from a target of 3 million rand to 250,000, which means I still owed a lot of publishers. And then, yeah, with that 250, there was no profit. So then it was time for me to think about what next to do. It's either you go back to work or you go back to work with that, by the way, right? You're not gonna go back
Yeah.
to work with no, you go back owing the publishers because there's operational cost, all of those things, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, then we started like I looked at like low entry level gadgets, like tablets, phones, all of those things.
Mm.
Uh, and then we started going around different universities to advertise that. So one university that took that very well was Val University of Technology, VUT.
Yeah.
I remember we're just sitting at vets, and a lot of students from VUT came to buy all the tablets, and then I was like,
What-
wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, everything. And then yeah, from then we started going there. We became big actually in terms of like tablets, electronics, all of those things.
Sure.
So what when I left my job, I thought I was going to do books. So books were okay. They gave me like working capital to do something else, right? So which always
Mhm.
happens in business. You sometimes you think you have everything figured out. The truth is
Mhm.
it's not figured out. You're gonna have to figure some things on the job, and that's why it's also important for investors not to invest in what the guys tell you. You have to invest in people because the plan is always going to change, right? There's always going to be a lot of things. Even COVID showed a lot of guys that the plan can always change. So that's why you want to make sure that whoever you're investing in is very dynamic.
Mm.
uh, if this is not working, they can actually switch to something else.
Sure.
So the skill of Zulzi has always been like that in terms of we're able to navigate different things. Changing from this. Some of the stuff people will say, but it's working. Why are you leaving these things? Like
Mm.
electronics, for instance, was working very well after some time. We had like good sales. I think at our peak we did about like 50 million rand turnover, right?
Wow.
But at that time, I was like, you know what, there has to be something bigger, right, than
Sure.
what we're doing. Uh, and we switched to it. I remember at some point, for instance, we even tried to sell dresses. This is the funniest story that so like when we're selling books and electronics, we realized that okay, so books were seasonal, right? In fact, books and
Yeah.
electronics were all seasonal, right? So I always wanted a business where you can make money throughout. And then I
Sure.
remember there was some guys in Joburg, right? They used to make some very like their dresses were so amazing, man. Bao Africa fashion, oh, the dresses were banging at the time. So I'm
Mm.
like, let me put these guys online, let me see. And then I
Sure.
went there, spoke to the guys, and then they were quite keen to come online, and then I
Yeah.
put the stuff, and the demand was crazy. And the guys were not able to give me the dresses to deliver them to the customers. So I was like, what can I do? I was like, let me hire some people to make the dresses. So I did that for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and I realized no, that's not for me.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, in terms of like logistics, making the dresses, making wrong sizes, all of that stuff, it was just like
Yeah.
too much. But I think those are the things that I went through, in terms of like trying to build this business that now is known as Zulzi for groceries, right?
Sure.
So a lot of things that one went through.
Paying school fees. No,
Sorry?
no, I'm saying you were paying school fees.
Yeah, there was a lot of school. In fact, even now, right? We still
Not,
pay a lot of.
I don't mean kids' school fees. I mean your school fees in business.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it was quite intense. It was quite
sure.
stressful. I think when one look back, it's quite funny as well. The
Yeah.
mistakes, the people you met as well, and also like I think maybe one most important thing was obviously to to build relationships. I think business is about building relationships. One thing that people don't do
Mm.
well is actually
Mm.
to understand that business is like a political party, is like
Mm.
a church, where you need to attract people to come to you, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
what's important is the name you build for yourself is so critical. It's so important. I've seen
Yeah.
people who, like for instance, like one of the things that I always want to give an advice to for anyone who wants to go into business is, be a reliable person, be someone who people can trust, people who can rely on, right? I see a lot
Mm.
of guys, uh, like like you borrow 10,000 and run away. You can't build a business when you do that. So you want to be trustworthy. You want people. You want your customers to rely on. You want people around you to rely on. I think one of the things that we must address as most especially black people is these things of saying white people are always privileged. They
mm,
know these uncles, they've got friends. I just want to challenge you that you also do. You do have
mm,
uncles, you do have friends, you do
mm,
have people who can support you. But the problem is you go, you borrow 10,000, you run away. And then you come back, you say you want 100,000. Who's gonna give it to you? You know.
mm, mm,
So those are the things that you have to build a name where people know. Like I mean, for ourselves, for instance, like when we started, like when we switched our business to groceries, right? uh, when we used to deliver, I think in 20, just to maybe, just to elaborate more, in 2017, 2016, we started developing a platform. So we moved away from books to create like a super app where you could order groceries, fast food from different restaurants like Chicken Licker and all of those guys, uh, pharmaceuticals and Lika as well, right? So we built a super app. And I remember back then, I mean, I would go to BrownSense to try and advertise it, get customers. And a lot of people, in fact, BrownSense it's been an amazing platform in the sense that it had like a lot of people could, when you put something there, people would just look at it and say, oh, let me try it out.
yeah, sure.
And we got our first breakthrough, you guys, in terms of like, we'll go there in your platform and advertise it, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah. So what I remember is obviously at the time we didn't understand anything about like, oh, that space, what is needed,
Mm,
why should raise. We thought we were going there to make money. From day one. And the truth is, when we got there, we realized that, oh, this thing actually needs money from us. Um,
yeah.
what I mean is, when you run an online business needs scale, so you're not going to make money until you have scaled the business.
Mm,
People get shocked when you say, oh, Chocolate is not making money. Mr. D is not making money. It's
mm,
mostly because you have scale before you can make money. There's a lot of things that don't make sense. Like if you deliver one burger in a day, which is $50, right, to one customer, the cost for development of the app is way more than that, right? To pay a developer to do your app, it's way more than that. I think what you're getting on a tech business is that as you scale, some of the things they don't necessarily have to scale with you. So for instance, the technology that you build, you might find that it can actually handle more volumes, but you don't have to add more developers as you scale. But you only realize that after a certain level, right? So, for instance, like if you are in a grocery business, like you're not going to be able to make money if you're making 10 million rands or 20 million rands or 30 million rands a month. That's too little. So you need to scale that business to, let's say, 100 million rands a month. That's when you can start looking, oh, there's some money to be made. So for us, like, I mean, those are some of the things that we never understood when we went into this business. So we thought, what, you just go in, you immediately start making money, everything all looks pashash. And when we
mm,
got there, oh, this thing actually needs money from us. And we had never raised any money. I didn't even know any investors. I didn't know what a pitch deck looks like. I've never written a pitch deck in my life. I don't know
yeah.
investors. I don't know any of these investors, right?
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that I had then was just friends. So as you're building this thing, for instance, so one of the things that used to happen is we lots of people used to assume that this partnership they just come. Again, this is a mistake. That people just make to think you just go there, you're lucky, you're favored, you get Pick and Pay, Woolworth working with you. We never had that.
Yeah.
We forced them to be there. In fact, one of the things that we tried because we're doing like fast food and everything else, right? So I went in, I was like, okay, I remember when Brownfontein at the time. So I went to a restaurant very close to where we used to operate from in terms of our office. So we used to eat at that restaurant almost every day. Went to the lady, white lady, young white lady, asked her, "Do you want to be on our platform?" And she said no.
Mm.
And I used to eat there every day. I was so touched by that sale. I already bought a camera. I bought a camera. I'm ready to take pictures. He said no. She's not interested in coming to our platform.
Yeah.
Uh, and then what helped me though was like another thing is what I was doing at the time is I was following a lot of platforms, not just here in South Africa, like USA,
Mm.
Europe. Like, so I was like a global citizen. I was not just like developing something in isolation, which is
Yeah.
also very critical. You don't want to do
So,
something where you think, oh, it's groundbreaking. It's only me who can think about it. You want to
mm.
look at who else is doing the same thing as you, right? And then I remember at the time there were some guys called Postmates in the US. Those guys were from Germany, and there's a similar thing where they were like, oh, you know what, like a lot of these guys don't want to partner with us. We just put
Mm.
them on, forcefully. Just go in there, get their menu, put their stuff there, and then over time, when they see a lot of people going into their stores, they'll say, "Oh, how do we work with you?"
Sure.
So that's how I did Zulzi as well.
Very good.
All the
Wow.
retailers, put them there, scrap everything. So as a customer, you place an order. By the way, we don't get your money immediately, so we'll get it the following day, right? So which means we need to have working capital to go buy the stuff for you at the store, right?
Yeah.
So we had to have some money, and obviously as we're growing as well, that money that we need, the reserves that we need to have in order for us to go to the store to buy the groceries for you was growing as well. So that challenge actually, so what meant, it meant as my business was growing, I had to have access to capital somewhere.
Sure.
Me at the time was just friends, right? And the friends, it didn't start with, oh, borrow me 100,000. It started with 5,000, 10,000,
Sure.
20,000, 30,000. So for me, like building relationships where people can trust you with money is so critical. So
Sure.
that's how you're gonna build a big business. But if you're not trustworthy with 5,000, 10,000, it just means that no one
Can
can
look
trust you.
more.
So I got to learn that skill then at that time.
I like your thinking because the way you mentioned the numbers, 100 million and all that, it's
Yeah.
doable. It's. I think the way we've been socialized, it's almost like to see certain things as being out of reach. Um,
Mm-mm.
and
Yeah.
I think some of us there's an element of self sabotage in that sense that we are doing the work, but subconsciously we don't think or we don't believe we can achieve whatever that we are like every day when you wake up you're pursuing this thing, but your mind is not
Mm,
aligned to your actions.
mm,
uh,
mm,
yeah, that's really fascinating. It actually reminded me of this book, ne? Let me just show you this picture. Can
mm,
you see
mm. Yeah, yeah,
that?
yeah.
So so the story behind this book, this guy is
Mm,
late now. He was a lawyer in the US and basically built a business based on his experience representing clients when they were doing mergers and acquisitions.
mm,
Uh,
mm,
he reached a stage where he thought, you know what, I think I can start my own business and do
mm,
what my clients have been doing all these years because he was involved in the details, when he's doing a deal with them.
mm,
Uh,
mm, mm,
so one interview, I think the guy had just closed a deal, yeah, I think about $10 million. Ne?
mm, mm, mm,
Someone is interviewing him, and he was now getting the respect within that space.
mm,
I think this is back in the 80s. So the journalist umbuze a question, Uchi, and he said this was the only journalist who asked him that question. Everyone else was congratulating him, well done, pat on the back, end of the interview. But this
mm,
one particular guy said to him, "Mr. Lewis, congrats. Uh,
mm,
so what's the next? What's the next plan?"
mm,
And he said that question was like, I've just achieved this huge deal,
mm, mm,
black and
mm,
in the US in this space. And
yeah.
here's this guy asking me, so what's next?
Mm,
And that question led him to then start looking for the next deal. And then that's what then led to a $90 million deal that he later achieved following that thought
mm,
pattern. Yeah, so you
mm,
just need to realize or remember this thing, Uguchi, I don't think it's necessarily, having to do with being greedy or whatever. It's just
yeah.
to I was saying this to my daughter last week. No, was it my?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm really curious what a human mind that is fully used, in according to its capabilities, no?
Yeah, yeah,
According to the original design. What will that look like? Because we are not fully utilizing our brains right now. I don't even know what percentage. It's like our phones, they've got all these apps that a lot of them we hardly use. The
mm-hmm.
apps come with our phone. So that's
Yeah,
thanks. I think you've just touched on that very critical thing, which
yeah.
why we build, especially as Black people, right?
Look, I think maybe to add on that, right? I think
Yeah.
just said there is. I mean, I remember us as well during our journey, right, on building Zulzi. By the
Mm,
way, I think maybe just to elaborate more in terms of like where are we as Zulzi right now? What are we doing, right?
mm,
I mean, we've done a lot of things in the past. We've done the picking from the stores. We will deliver to you in
yeah.
1 hour. Um, right now, we have changed the game again, right? So we are in a space that's called quick commerce. This is a new space where everything gets delivered in under like 15 minutes or so, right?
Wow.
In order for you to do that, you then need to build a network of dark stores, right? So that's what we're doing currently, where we are, instead of picking groceries from the retail stores, we are now becoming a black owned retailer where you can actually get your groceries, where you've got different FMCGs, from Coca Cola, Unilever, and also like smaller guys, who will not have access to sell their products on the traditional retailers. So right now, we create a platform where you can actually bring your stuff, and we're able to get those things delivered to the customers within 15 minutes. That's where we are right now, right? And that has always been the dream in terms of like, where are we as Black people going to have our own things? When are we gonna have a Black owned retailer? When are we gonna
Mm,
have that?
mm,
When are we consumers? And that's what motivated me to actually take Zuzi forward, right? Was there no opportunity to do something else? There were a lot of opportunities to do a lot more in terms of, like for instance, like one of the things that you should know is we, obviously we partnered with Shoprite Checkers, we built Checker 6060, we still do the technology right now as we speak. We
or
are the
to do
guys.
the technology. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to build a platform that big, it means the tech as well grows with that. So we still are
Yeah.
responsible for that. We have about, let's say, 35 developers that are working on that, right? That us as a
Mm,
developer working on Checker 6060. But the most important thing is the dream was beyond that. A lot of people look at it and like, oh wow, you've done so well, right? But the dream needs to go beyond uh, I would call it a small thing. We need to start having
mm,
like big that can think beyond the the small things we see. We need
sure.
to think. We need to stop thinking about ourselves only. We need to think about like how do we change generations? How do we change lives of different people? For me, for
Yeah.
instance, I'm passionate about how do I give opportunities to people who would not have been given a chance by the society. Like there's some people that I get so proud about hiring a driver, a shopper,
Mm,
and progress through different stages in life. As opposed to hiring a developer who could actually work anywhere else. Who got a job at FNB and wherever. So that's the impact that we need to make. For
yeah.
our
Yeah.
our communities everywhere. And
Yeah. Yeah.
not be satisfied by small things. Not be satisfied by that's why, like, when I see our political guys given a buy peg and they sell the whole country, I'm like, that's people who don't have a dream. We
Mm,
need to start dreaming big, guys. We need to start thinking about how do you build a new city. If you're in politics, you have to start thinking big. You have to start thinking outside of your champagne.
yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now, people are limited by champagnes. If I get a champagne, if I get a Vitlas, I'm sorted. Right?
Yeah.
That's
Sure.
a small mind. We need to start thinking, how do we transform the economy? How do we, and we don't need to, like to do it in by shouting slogans. We just have to do.
Mm,
Have
mm,
to wake up in the morning and say, what is it that I can do? And you'll be very surprised that in fact we have all the power as Black people to do what we think we can't do. We have
yeah.
all the power. Have it.
Yeah.
We have it now. sense. So we need to start utilizing that and really be aggressive in terms of like how do we grow this economy? How do you give access to people? How do we work together as well? How do
yeah,
we I mean today, for instance, I sit here and I've got no doubt that we build the best technology in the retail space. There's no one can match us in South Africa. There's no doubt
mm,
about that. Right.
mm, mm,
Ask the other retailers, ask them who comes close to Checker 6060, ask them and ask them who actually do that. It's us, right?
yeah,
And the question is, how do we then bring things together, as black people to take these things to the next level, So,
yeah,
so for
yeah,
me, we need to just liberate ourselves, right? We need to liberate ourselves. We mustn't wait for other people to come and liberate us. We need to liberate ourselves. We need to start
yeah,
thinking big. We need to start actioning things, doing things,
yeah,
be passionate. Um, yeah, let's die in the struggle. Let's really fight for what's right. Let's
sure, sure,
this thing of
sure,
saving ourselves. When you go out there, you want to serve yourself or you want to save your family only. We need to go beyond that. We need to start like
mm,
worshiping people who are actually going beyond just creating an opportunity for themselves or creating an opportunity for the family members. We need to go beyond that. I don't want to hear that. Like anyone who's just there to serve themselves should be taken out. We need people who are going to create opportunities. People who are going to be passionate about taking everyone forward. We
mm,
have to take it forward. We can't be crying all the time. To some
yeah,
extent, it's even unfair to how we cry to all these people to say they must come and liberate us. We must liberate ourselves. We have to
true,
liberate ourselves.
that's true.
I
So,
mean,
so
right now, we look at the guys like, yeah, Rupert must come and save us. That's nonsense. You save yourself.
yeah,
Let's
so,
save our.
you can't save, you can't build from a position or with a mindset that is victim minded. So, so in other words, if I'm someone that's like everything is happening to me, do you understand?
Yeah,
Or the reason things are not happening for me, it's because
yeah,
of one, three, my mother, this, my race, that, my age, or anything that you can think of under this. And those things can be true. They can be a reality in terms of this is where
yeah,
we start off. But what stops us, which we can. This is the size of the
mm,
opportunity.
mm.
And it's more than enough for all of us. What you've just mentioned now about having built the Checker 60 app and also providing tech support for them. Basically, you've built a competitor's platform. You still support it, but you're also running your own, you know, business and growing it at the same time. Yes, there are differences and all that. How is that something that you've ever been asked, or how do you, because me now when you say that to me, it's like
Yeah.
the cake is that big. Do you
Mm.
understand?
Look, I,
The, yeah,
yeah, let me say the cake it's that big, right? And also for us as Zulzi, we always want to build something that's on the cutting edge, right? So like we know how things are going to unfold, right? So one can look at e-commerce and think, oh, e-commerce is now done, right? So like as so in terms of the internet, I think internet there's a lot of changes that happens all the time, right? So
mm,
if you well, there was a time where you would just browse things on the internet, right? You just go in the internet, browse things. They would call it self-service actually, right? But you will not order anything, right?
mm,
Uh, that was I'll call that probably like version one of of e-commerce, right? And then there was a time where you will just order things, like you guys know, take a lot, all of those guys, right?
mm,
So you order stuff and then you get it in like 3 4 days, whatever, right? So that was version two of that, right? And then version three, there was the likes of Uber and also us as Zuzi at the time. We would then try and bring your stuff within 1 hour, right? We call that on-demand delivery platforms, Uh, but now there's also another thing that's coming, which is called quick commerce, right? So quick commerce means that you see something, you order it, within 10 15 minutes, you have that item in your hands, right?
right,
So the next phase of what is coming, and for us as Zuzi, that's what we're working on, right? In
well,
terms of always trying to be ahead of the curve. So we don't hold on to one thing and say, this is it, right? because the tech always evolve, right?
Mm.
You know, and that's why we always looking at like what is it that we can do next, you know. So
Sure. Sure.
for us as Wozi, that's what we're working on. And yeah, like I mean, you know, like we are not afraid of creating competition for ourselves, right? I think
Mm.
that's the right way to go about it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the most important thing is you need to understand that the opportunities, especially when you know how to build tech, right? There's so many things you can do, right? There's a lot of stuff that we're doing now, right? From, you know, just from right now, from getting your groceries in 10, 15 minutes from all the areas where we're operating in, to, you know, in a month or so, you start to see things like also the pharmaceutical stuff where you can actually get your prescription delivered within 10, 15 minutes, you know. So those
Wow.
cake is quite big, you know. But I think all in all is like we're always looking to innovate and do
Yeah.
something go beyond what we're doing, you know. That's who we are as Ozzy.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So I'm listening to you now. I'm at home. I've got my own, product or business, and I'm interested to have it on your platform.
Yeah.
What what process would I have to follow?
Yeah, so I think you know, if anyone wants to sell on our platform, you can actually send us an email, info@zozi.com. Then someone will then reach out to you and make an arrangement in terms of, you know, getting that product into our platform, right? I
Yeah.
think that advantage of obviously bringing the product to Zozi is, you know, to, you don't have to worry about like, you know, building an online platform. You know, I mean, building an online platform is quite hard. You know, like a lot of people don't understand that in terms of like having to build something that works, where people can actually get their stuff delivered same day or within an hour or within 15 minutes. It actually takes a lot. It's a lot of money that is needed. You know, so when you see check out 6060, all of those platforms, right? They cost millions of rands, right?
Mm.
It's millions, right? That actually you have to pay for you to get those things. You know, it doesn't come for free. So I can tell you right now, it's going to be hard for anyone to build a platform at that level with less than 10 million rands. You know, so you
Yeah.
and also like when it becomes successful, you have to pay a lot more. So that's why like it's important for you as a business, you should realize that okay, do you want to build a platform or do you want to tap into something that's already there and you focus on perfecting the product, the packaging, make sure the product is packaged correctly, it's got the
Yeah.
right branding. So we can then do the tech side. You know, the tech side we've been doing it and that's what we're good at. You know, so
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
give you that access to sell your products via our platform. So anyone who's interested to sell their products online, they can actually just email us at info@source.com.
Awesome. Awesome. This is very exciting. Let's do a lot of this. But I was watching this guy last night. I forgot his name now. Petrus something, not Motsipe.
Yeah.
Um, he's someone that passed away 2011. He's done some work in the comedy space,
Yeah. Mm.
and to find the guy's material is hard. Like the few you find online.
Mm.
Treasure, and when I see that, I think about how much it's very crucial for all of these activities. Obviously to the extent that it's possible to be
Yeah.
documented. You were telling us about your brother who was showing you, his pay slips, offer letters, and that kind of stuff. And I think
Mm.
this is one way of doing that. Because someone might be watching it on their phone right now. It's
Yeah.
going to be on the net for however long, and yeah,
No, no, definitely. I think sharing information is so critical, you know, and also people must not be shy to go on the internet to see who's doing what. You have to have people that you follow, right? If there's this
yeah,
guy you follow who you think aspires you, like just go out there and follow
yeah,
them and really see exactly how do they do these things, you know.
yeah, sure,
I think that's one thing that I love about internet now. You know, you can live here in South Africa, you can do almost everything outside. You know, even for us, like I mean,
mm,
I look at quick commerce or there's an app, you know, an idea that I have. The first thing I do is to look at like who else is doing it.
mm,
You know, a lot of people think "Ah, I've got this crazy idea. I think you know with apps, I always even tell my developers that there's nothing new here, right? Someone has
yeah,
done it somewhere, right? So
yeah,
go and check who else has done it. So like, even when you start, you are in the forefront. You're just trying to improve what's already there. You know.
it's there, sure,
So, like, unlike, there's a lot of guys who always think, we need to create African solutions, you know, like, hey guys, we are connected to the world, right? We in the internet where whatever, you go to Paris, you go to US, what you
yeah,
see there is gonna come here, right?
yeah, yeah.
And a lot of guys are coming from that side. They're taking the opportunities here because you're sleeping. So we need to
Mm,
start being front. We need to start like we need to make it harder. Like in other markets, it's also very difficult for people to penetrate because people are now waking up. Like for instance, like things like Uber, all of those things, right? And they didn't succeed in all the markets because people had woken up. But they're like, you know what? We know
mm,
what's coming. We know where the world is going, and they start doing what developing solutions for that. So
yeah, yeah.
so and this is also like people, the funders out there, government, all these things. Guys need to wake up and realize that actually, innovation. We don't talk about like someone dancing from the sky coming here. It
Mm,
must be even in groceries, you still hear a lot of people saying, "Yeah, Amazon is doing this, they're doing that." You know, they're finding it hard to crack the grocery space, guys. Wake up, and start
yeah,
doing things practical in terms of where you are in your
yeah.
environment. And say, okay, this is what is that. So, for instance, like a lot of people, some people think, the picking, you just use robots, you use this, you use that, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's great, right? But in South Africa or Africa, labor is cheap, right? You don't need robotics, right? You
Mm,
can pick robots and still have a model that works. So these days I interact with a lot of guys as well internationally. Anyone who want to launch in South Africa, they recognize us as people who actually know the space very well. So they'll tell me and they're like, oh, here's an opportunity in South Africa. The nice thing is, yeah,
sure.
if you go to Europe, you go to US, the cost of labor is way too high. So it makes the model to be, not viable. But here you don't need all of that stuff, right? You can hire someone for 5,000. All the guys work at Pick and Pay and less than 5,000 rands, right? So
Yeah,
they can do all the thing for you for close to, you know, at a reasonable cost. So like all of those things is we need to be more realistic, in terms of like the ideas and what we want to do. Because I think also like what it discourages a lot of people is they think of something very crazy, that is not even anywhere, in the developed countries. People think, yeah, like innovation is like developing a car that's self-driving that goes from here to that is not working yet, guys. So you
sure,
need to
sure,
think about where do you start here, right? How do you start developing that solution of yours that might not be as advanced, you know? And then,
sure.
once you start doing that, then you then are able to progress to something that's more advanced. But you don't just start by creating something that is crazy from the word go, because that is
Yeah,
actually, you're not gonna do anything if you do that. You're not gonna start anything if you do that.
sure.
So we need to be more realistic and really start creating and be in touch with the reality, and be in touch with the whole world. The internet, I always say the internet is connected. The internet.
Mm, mm,
If we are going to create African solutions, people are on Twitter, people are on Facebook. You know,
mm,
they're
mm,
doing this thing. They're using Airbnb. That's the solution. What are you
mm,
doing? And then we come here, we think people don't wanna, they want something else. Those are the things that we must do. So local stuff, localized content. Like I mean, we have seen it as well. Like I mean, look at like if you look at Netflix, you look at Showmax. People
yeah,
love localized content, right? The wife, all of those things. So like we need to start creating localized solutions, right? But that are not so much different from what's out there in the world because we know they want that. So you just have to create your own Facebook, create your own Twitter, create your own Airbnb. That's for me. That's what we need to be doing
yeah,
instead of like trying to create some things that don't make sense.
sure, sure.
Yeah.
That's powerful. So before I let you go, what are the maybe do you have any timelines in terms of expansion plans into other regions? I know you currently cover Gauteng, for the most part, but you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
where,
Look, I
where,
think
yeah,
as, the plan is in the next 4 months, we would have covered all the major cities here in Joburg.
okay,
Uh, Currently, we have about 6 dark stores. Um, the plan is to increase that by about 60 dark stores before end of this year, right? So we're going to be growing rapidly. And then on top of that, obviously, I did mention things like the pharmacies, so you should be able to order all your pharmaceutical staff products on the Zulzi platform as well and get them delivered within 15 minutes. That includes everything. That's prescription, all of those things. You should be able to do virtual consultations on the platform. So those are some of the things that we're doing at Zulzi. That's coming very soon. But yeah, as we speak right now, if you need groceries from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., whether if it's alcohol, whatever things that you need, like in areas like Midrand, Fourways, Bryanston, Johannesburg CBD, Rosebank, those areas are covered there. Cresta, Olive. So you could actually get your groceries within 15 minutes. So that's what quick commerce is all about. So it's one step ahead of what we have known as on-demand delivery platforms, where in an hour you get your stuff delivered. We like to say, like people always ask, what's better than 60 minutes? And we say it's 15 minutes, so you get it delivered quicker, so within 15 minutes, you get your stuff, in your door. So if you've forgotten ingredients, or even now you need a beer, you can just go onto the Zulzi platform, order it, and then within 15-20 minutes, it's in your door.
What time does it close, Konja? Is it 8 p.m. is the cutoff?
No, it's 10 p.m. It's 10 p.m. We close at 10 p.m.
You can still buy a bottle of wine or something.
Yeah, so even now you can still order a bottle of wine, get it delivered to your door, within 15-20 minutes, so that's what quick commerce is all about. So we're going to be rolling out more and more dark stores. Midrand, we just opened a dark store there in Midrand as well. So anyone around Midrand, you can just quickly go onto the platform, order anything you want, and get it delivered in 10 minutes.
Mzuzukile bantu base-Midrand. Thanks, Vutlhari. I see just before we close, Dumi has a comment here, but ufuna ukuthi interview. Dumi, send us an email. I don't know if we are friends on Facebook or what, but you can DM me. What is Junk Cafe? Anyway, we'll find out. Sharing a DM or info@brownsense.co.za.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Any parting?
Is there any questions from anyone maybe before we close off?
Yeah. There's no questions, but let's just give them a few 1 or 2 minutes just to see if there's one or two. Otherwise, I think they are inspired. Facebook user who says, "I'm when I get back on my socials, who Facebook user." So it's cool. So the reason it does this is that some people join in without signing in on the stream yet. So it anonymizes them. So thank you, Facebook user. Thank you for joining us. But Mr. Vutlhari, guys, if you had, if you want to explore, having a product on Zulzi, and the product, this is FMCG that we are talking about.
Yeah, it's mostly groceries, right? So you can think about anything that would be in the retail store. So like Zulzi is the platform for you guys to actually have to sell your stuff. So if you want to sell anything, you can just get in touch with us, info@zulzi.com, and then we can list your product to your customers.
Okay, cool. We have a question here with regards to areas that you seek to expand to.
Yeah, so that will be, so currently I think we are, if you look at Olivedale, Cresta, Midrand, Sandton, Fourways, Bryanston, Paulshof, Sunninghill, Waterfall, those are the covered areas. So the 6 dark stores, so I think one dark store actually gives us a radius of up to 5 kilometers, so these 6 dark stores will then cover up to 5 kilometers. And then the next areas that we're going into, Centurion, we'll be launching very soon, Pretoria, and of course Cape Town and Durban as well.
Oh, I see. That's great. Thanks, Vutlhari. No, don't worry, Facebook user. I'm just teasing you. As soon as I find out who you are, things will be a Facebook user.
So, yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
but
Mike Melo says, thanks for the insightful session. It really was insightful. I feel like this is the kind of material, Vutlhari, that should be part of some, case study and in some business school, the way that you framed it. So that's why when I touch on the documenting of these things,
yeah,
uh, yeah,
I think the things is also Gibbs as well. I think there's something that
yeah,
they've done. Yeah, a
yeah,
case study, which is great.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think we just need to share a lot more, right? All in all, we need to
yeah,
share a lot more. Uh, let's stop making it like the secret.
exactly.
This have helped a lot of people uh,
Yes,
start their own businesses. Others also to help them in their career as well. So
yeah, definitely.
I
Yeah,
hope it was insightful to everyone.
those. No, thanks, man. Thanks, Ibo. I remember you. I think we met once, Ibo, 2016 or 17, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, thanks to everyone that joined us tonight. So every live stream that we do sits on the platform.
Yeah, yeah,
Basically, wherever you saw it on the group on Facebook, some of our pages, Twitter. We encourage you to follow or subscribe to our YouTube channel.
mhm,
Yeah, so it's there to be, reconsumed and, to listen to and watch at your own pace. Thank
yeah.
you, Mr. Baloyi, and thanks to your family for um, giving us some
No,
time to with Mr. Baloyi.
anytime, my friend. Like
Yeah,
anytime is tea time. Thank you so
yeah,
much for making it as well,
yeah,
right? I know you're in
yeah,
the darks. uh,
yeah.
for really be successful. I was very worried about your battery that can die anytime.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's on 18%, but yeah,
yeah, thank you so
yeah,
much for making it possible,
yeah.
and to all the viewers, listeners out there, thank you so much for your time as well.
Cool, man. Thanks. Have a good evening. Thanks.
You too, and keep well.
Thanks, chap.
Shabbat. Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We will catch up next week, Thursday, same time. I think on Tuesday, I've got an 8 p.m. So I'm exploring introducing another live stream. It might be a different angle that we look at. Maybe some of them won't be led or interviewed by myself. We'll see how things go. Otherwise, have a good evening. Thanks, Ivo. Cheers, man. Yeah, I've got a good memory. Thanks, guys. Good night.